right? Oh, right, well, that's 4 semesters of compliance, 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 compliance. Don't get scared. How many are successful already? Anybody? Nobody. Oh, you're in? Okay. The room number, when you get to room number, it's right here. 130973.
You go to home.
You gotta log in and student login at the top. You don't even have to sign up.
And you're there? Okay, student login and the room number, and you're there. Sorry.
We're just waiting for your activity.
Ah, okay. Really much. I made it too complicated. Student login, room number, and you're there.
130973.
130973. So yours says waiting for activity. Okay. So before I start the activity, I'll wait till you're are you good? You found it? Found it? So I sent you this letter, but I want to read it to you for emphasis. So this is from me to you. So I want you to have it in my real voice. Should we give it to the online students too? Why not? Yeah, let's do it. It's real. So here it is. Dear health policy students, to avoid tyranny and corruption, democracies need a vibrant public discourse on policy and politics. If a major professional group avoids these political discussions, whether through boredom, apathy, or intentional exclusion, tyranny and corruption seep into the body politic. I thought that was pretty good, huh? Right for a nurse. All right. Universities are special social institutions where diverse points of view are encouraged, not because all ideas and opinions are equal or valid, but because an open, honest dialogue about our collective ideas is essential in a democracy. Both democracies and institutions of higher learning need a rich public discourse on the vital ideas of the day. These ideas are often controversial because they involve both values and the allocation of resources. Civility helps keep conversations on controversial issues informative and productive. Because, as you learned in community health, all policy is health policy. Did everybody hear that? Okay. All policy is health policy. We will not examine health policy in a vacuum. The positions we take on foreign policy, fiscal policy, education, agriculture, civil rights, all those policies affect the health of the nation. So I've used crude forms of the survey that I've passed out to you for several years, and it now produces a value from 0 to 200 that will say on my tool how far to the right or the left you are. It doesn't work well with libertarians because they don't fit that quite as equally. But what we're going to do with that is we're going to go through the tool today as a group, question by question, because it can be a little confusing. And we'll put our answers, you'll clicker your answers to me. I will not know who you are. I mean, not clicker, text them or send them to me. Whatever it's called. However you do it, texting. And then, you'll get an overall number at the end of the survey, somewhere between 0 and 200. Actually, it'll probably be between 0 and 150 is the way it works. And then we're going to line up from the far right to the far left in this classroom. So, the reason we're going to do that, we're not going to stay in that line, and you're not going to have that identity for very long. What we're going to do at that point is we're going to break into 5 groups by left, center, center right, and right. And so those are 5 different groups, and they're going to be given different colors, right, from blue to red. And the reason for this is so that you can be discussing the materials that we're going to read in the class and the op-ed pieces that you read together in like-minded groups. And that's because I want you to have a safe place to discuss the op-ed pieces and the health policy pieces from the beginning. So I want you to be in like-minded groups. I got feedback from last semester that said, from a couple students, I didn't like being in a group with all whatever, it didn't really matter. I wish we had more diverse groups. So we're also going to divide at the end of the process into numbered groups, 1 through 8. And we will have discussions with mixed groups as well. So my goal, I haven't made it yet in this class. My goal is to have half this class small group discussions on our reading. I think that will be the most valuable way to use class time. I can talk all day about health policy. I'm happy to answer any questions that are confusing, but you don't need 3 hours of me talking for health policy. It'll be much more interesting to be talking about our readings in these groups. So that's why we're going to do this instrument that I just made up. It's not valid or reliable. It's just what I made up. It works for the purposes of this class. And that will give us our groups, okay? So the idea is to create a really safe place for us to discuss controversial issues where we will not all agree. And we will have, and if we're serious about these issues, we're going to have some real disagreement. So the idea, because this is a university, disagreement and not a church, right? Disagreement is okay, right? So we are not trying to be politically correct. And I probably, because I have a low number, I will probably be in the blue group. So I'm fairly far to the left in this country. I'd probably be a conservative in Europe, but in this country I'm pretty far to the left. I make a special effort to make sure that the conservative viewpoint is articulated and brought out and that we can hear what that is. And if nobody else says it, I try my best to provide it. And I try to read conservative writers as well. So that's kind of what we're going to do in the class. And I thought we would do that first in the syllabus at the end. But I know that this class, who all had Terry Dean, or most of you, for community health or leadership, she started doing op-eds in leadership, right? She said you were going to continue it in this class, and we are. We're going to do read a lot of op-eds in this class. I assign about 30 of them, not 30 individual. I assign about 10 op-ed writers that you read 3 each for each of the 10, and I assign a few other ones that I want you to read, and you get to pick all the rest. So if you're going for an A in the class, you do 100, and if you're going for a B, you do 60. It basically means you're reading op-ed pieces every day. And the idea for that op-ed reading is that they come in the newspaper, and you just read them. And then you copy the link and write a couple of sentences about what it was about. The difference between this class and what you did for Terry is that you don't have to find evidence. Okay, these are opinion pieces, and so our focus is going to be distinguishing between facts, inferences, and values, and opinions. Facts, inferences, values, and opinions. So we're going to be trying to distinguish between those, but you're not going to have to go find evidence. Mostly, I want you to be able to tell other people, Thomas Friedman was really good today on immigration. Did you read what he had to say about immigration policy? Again, this is a little bit of, you're paying a lot of money for this education. To be able to speak intelligently about your favorite op-ed writers is essential cocktail party and, more importantly, fundraiser, banquet type conversation. So when you're with people from other disciplines, to be able to rattle off at least who your favorite op-ed writers are is very useful. And it communicates who you are to other educated people in health sciences and other disciplines. So it's a good, and you'll find it fun because you will find writers that you like. I'm always a little shocked that some people in my last class, their favorite writer was Ann Coulter. So, but we are all nurses, and this is a safe place, and you know, some people like to see a really brassy, ballsy woman talk about, articulate conservative political positions. So I like Maureen Dowd because she's nasty to everybody. And so you'll have your favorite writers for different sorts of reasons. And before we go into the exercise, I do want to say what my main goal for the whole class is. So my main goal for this class is to help all of you talk about politics more at the dinner table and everywhere else. Because nurses have largely been silent, because nurses tend to be conflict avoiders. There's only a few nurses who really love a good fight. I love a debate. I really love one of those back and forth, smackdown debates. Now, I don't like them yelling at each other, so I'm not good with MSNBC and Fox News stuff. I like to actually hear one point of view and then it's smacked down from the other side. But most nurses don't like that. But the op-ed pieces are a combination of real civil tone and civil conversation and a little bit nasty. But nurses can listen to the whole, we as nurses have to listen to the craziest people in the world, right? Sick people who go crazy and who can be off the wall, right? So, right, especially psych nurses, and all nurses wind up taking care of people with comorbidities. So we are used to managing conflict. And you're all mothers and fathers, right? Or lots of you. Conflict. So maybe sometimes we try to avoid it. But for nurses to step away from the political conversation in this country is problematic. Nurses really need to be showing up now. And I did this in Oakland a couple of terms ago. I had the person on the farthest to the right in the class and the person to the farthest to the left in the class, and they really didn't like each other either as people. That sometimes happens. But we created a space where we were going to be respectful of each other's ideas, and they started blogging back and forth, the two of them, because we encouraged them to, at the beginning of the semester. And at the end of the semester, they were in agreement on 75% of what they thought should be done on health policy. They didn't agree on everything, right? They were from opposite ends of the spectrum. But as nurses, they came to agreement on 75% of their issues in terms of where they thought the country should go. I think nurses from both the right and the left, in conversation for what's best about the country, can find a huge area of agreement that won't necessarily happen, but could happen if nurses were talking about it everywhere. Right? We've got a political system now that isn't very responsive to what the majority of people think. But nurses are a very, very strong political force. So I think if we bring that voice out, and I don't care if it shifts us to the right or to the left, because I think 9 times out of 10, nurses are going to shift the conversation in the right direction for patients. I just believe that about my profession. I don't agree with nursing all the time. I absolutely disagreed with their position on forget the name of the drug, that anti-seizure med that we wanted to give in schools. We wanted to let teachers and secretaries give in schools to kids who were who were having a seizure. I think it's a suppository. What is it? Yeah, whatever. I Valium derivative, and I just think of it all as the anti-seizure medication that that we tended to give. But that medication, the California nurses, all the nurse leaders in California were against it, and I was actually for it. I thought we were being protected. We thought we were the only ones who could give that kind of medication, and I thought if a kid is having a seizure and needs a medication, let's figure out a way to get the medication into the kid, even if it's not a nurse. So I kind of stood alone on that one against my profession. So again, we don't always agree, but 9 times out of 10, I think we'll agree with our collective decisions as a profession. So